Arsenal Fan TV, Mo. Very comprehensive performance today, and some good performances all round from some of the players we don't see a lot.
Yeah. I thought Tommy was especially pleasing today, and a few people came in that haven't been there. For me, Joel Campbell, when he comes in, I always end up feeling like I can see why Wenger doesn't actually play him in a lot of games, because you remember what he was like at the World Cup, and I just don't feel like he's the same player. Really, he should be coming in, relishing the opportunity to put his name forward and say, look, get me on the team sheet every week, this is what I can do. I just feel like he plays within himself. It's hard to know whether that's him, whether it's a pressure thing, or whether it's kind of a system thing, but I wanted to see more from him. I just heard the previous guy talking about letting Podolski go, and that's because of Joel Campbell. For me, look, I can totally understand why Podolski's gone, and given the way that we've utilised him, it's the right thing to do. But I am really, really sad to see him go. For me, look, I don't care who we're playing. If we're 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go and one chance has to fall to one person, I want that to be Podolski, and I want that to be on his left foot. And I don't care who it is. I will never be as confident as Podolski getting a chance. With him, it's usually as clinical, absolutely clinical, and he'll take it.
Did he work hard enough, though? Did he work hard enough when he was there? He reminded me a bit sometimes of Arshavin with his work rate.
Yeah, and that's the criticism of him. But at the end of the day, we've got players that do put in all that work with Sanchez and Chamberlain and that sort of thing. And you don't see with teams every single one of the outfield players doing that. You do have kind of like chalk and cheese in different areas. Even with our centre-backs, you look at Mertesacker, who's a bit less assertive than Koscielny, who hasn't got the pace that he has. You complement each other. And with Podolski, someone like him with his finishing ability, I don't think you need to work as hard as maybe, a Chamberlain, because you'd rather Podolski was in the box or in the right place. So I'd forgive Podolski a bit of that to make sure that he's in the right place. But all in all, look, I've loved having Podolski at the club. I love his attitude. He's always playing with a smile. Hope he does really well at Inter. And sad to see him go. But what the proof will be as to whether that's the right thing to do or not is who we get in instead of him. There's often rumours of Cavani. I think for 50 million, that's an absolute joke. But he has been excluded from training and fined by PSG for returning late after their break. So I think he's very unsettled, and I think he'll go somewhere. He's not someone that I especially want, because I especially want a specialist central defensive midfielder. And I've been saying this for about a year now. It's pretty obvious to everyone that that's what we need. So hopefully we'll get that.
On that defensive midfielder, what about Coquelin? This is his third game that he's played. Now, I've been quite impressed with him in all three games. He's defended very well in that position. He's been very dynamic, getting forward. He hasn't really put a foot wrong so far.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's what I was just about to come on to. Again, today I thought he was brilliant. Often you see a player breaking up the play, and when you, from 100 yards, you think, who was that? You see it's Coquelin again. And I think he's been very, very good. And I think in the few games that he's played, he's actually shown that he's better than Flamini in that position. He's better than Arteta in that position. I think he's very tidy and very assured. But the other thing you have to say is that, look, that's against West Ham and against Hull. That's not Barcelona, and that's not Bayern Munich. I personally think we should be getting in a world-class CDM, and then a player like Coquelin should be looking and learning from that player and coming in when we need to rotate. That's absolutely fine. But, away against Bayern Munich, is Coquelin really the man that we should be putting in there? I don't think so. But he has done very, very well. But, going to that Southampton game, obviously I wasn't there. I couldn't get a ticket for it, actually. But, oh, God, it was depressingly bad.
A lot of mistakes by keepers today.
Yeah.
Our keeper today, Ospina.
Yeah.
What did you make of him? Didn't have a lot to do, to be honest, but
he was fine. But I expect that of him. He's not a young keeper. You expect him to come in and do fine. But that Southampton game, it reminded me of the game that we had where Giroud scored a brace, and was it Artur Boruc who tried 3 Cruyff turns on the row, and each one got progressively worse and worse and worse, and he tapped into an empty net. 2 goalkeeping mistakes, and we won 2-0 that day. It's a kind of replica result, but that was very, very disappointing. And with Ospina today, who was tidy, I think the question has to be asked, should we make Szczesny pay for his errors and potentially drop him for the next game?
What do you think?
I personally would, because I think the one thing about Szczesny is that he actually needs that competition. He's not one of them players that maintains his standards up at the highest level without that competition. And I think when he gets a bit nervous, you see that brings out the best in him. So I would actually drop him. But it's not much of a downgrade. I think Ospina's still a reliable person to come in. Just this transfer window now, it's a big, big one. Last year we didn't buy a striker, and it is unanimous, really, the opinion that we could have won the league had we done it. I don't want to see miss out on top 4 this year because we don't act in this transfer window. We lost against Southampton after 20 games of a season to a team that's higher than us in the league, and they beat us. This is not coincidence. We're 20 games into a league. I think we need to actually realise we do need to improve because we're not currently the 4th best team in the league. There are teams out there who are better than us. We definitely know we've got it in us and we've got the players to be that, but I think we need to hasten that that arrival of decent form to get us in the top 4. So I'm looking forward to that this window.
We're back! I'm telling you, listen, I've got to say, we still need to spend, right, yeah? Wenger needs to dip in his pocket, man. Do you know what I'm trying to say?